was pretty good.
I heard it was really good.
I heard it was just pretty good.
Well, I guess we'll have to watch it.
I heard it was just like, it's like Rocky, but not as good.
Nothing's as good as Rocky.
Well, I was like, why
in the sports category, why even bother making sports movies?
It's like, why even try making a movie that's like Rocky? Like, it's just done. Just stop it.
Just not stop it. Seriously. Stallone.
I should be a movie exec. Yeah, exactly. You guys doing a movie that's like Rocky? Just stop it.
You just walk into the room, every development office in the Paramount building. So basically, it's him trying to win her back and sort of trying to, this whole thing, he buys a house across the bay from where Daisy lives, and there's this green light at the end of the dock, and he's obsessed with the green light. He stands out by the green light, and he stares at it, and it's sort of representative of the past and how he's trying to recapture it, and that's the whole thing about the book. So in the second half of the story, after he and Daisy have sort of reconciled, and he's trying to get her to leave her husband, that's where stuff starts to slow down a bit, because they actually go into these long scenes where they're trying to build tension.
He's like, leave your husband. No, come on,
don't be a bitch.
You're being a real bitch right now.
Yeah, look, I know we.
Are they stumping at this point?
In the movie, they are. I don't know if they were in the book, but in the movie, they're having.
So he's like, you'll fuck me, but you won't leave your husband.
Well, it's not enough
fucked
for
up,
her.
Daisy.
It's not even
say,
enough.
Girl.
It's not even. It's not even enough for her.
You gonna let me lick your pussy? And then he won't even let me put a ring on it?
You think on your pussy?
No,
on the finger.
Yeah.
She knew what he was saying.
Yeah. And then she says that. He's like, don't be a bitch about this.
Well,
I don't like this guy.
It's not enough for her to leave her husband. She has to tell him that she never loved him.
Oh.
And he gets upset. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't like this dude.
He's got problems.
Great Gatsby, not so great.
He's a flawed character, but Nick.
The flawed Gatsby.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he is great because he's at heart a more decent person than any of these awful Daisy, her husband, that whole New York moneyed scene. Even though he did some things, presumably, that were very criminal. Although it's bootlegging, so it's something that...
It's a victimless crime.
Kinda. So anyway, that was the Gatsby. I liked it. I think it's minor Lerman, but still, I like Lerman. So I haven't seen Australia, but...
I had no interest in it. It's like, it's not... like it looked like just
a historical drama about Australia.
It didn't look like a Baz Luhrmann movie.
No. If it ever comes on Netflix Instant, I'll probably at least watch the first 15 minutes.
And be like, nah, I was right. And so was the rest of America.
I do that with a lot of stuff.
No one really saw that.
Well, I don't think anybody in America was necessarily that interested in a historical epic.
You've seen Crocodile Dundee, dude. We know Australia.
Exactly. We know it inside and out.
That's it.
Not even Hugh Jackman and...
You guys make another movie about Australia? Forget it. It's been done. It's called Crocodile Dundee. Stop it.
Greatest film executive in history. Yeah. So, anyway.
And then 30 years from now, people are like, you know what we haven't seen? Like a Rocky ripoff or some other bullshit movie about Australia. And then the other guy will be like, you can think about for that? Sergio Hernandez. That dude.
They should have built a statue.
They have a statue of him outside Paramount Studios. He's got his arms crossed, and there's a plaque that says, Rocky? Australia? No way.
Those are his two pet peeves. He never got a movie greenlit, but man, did he shut down a lot of shit.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, less movies came out, but they're pretty quality.
Exactly. Why flood the market with shitty product when you could be making really quality product? That was his argument.
Exactly.
He couldn't find the quality product, but he shut down the shit like nobody's business.
It was like, yeah.
So anyway, should we talk about Star Trek?
Star Trek Into Darkness.
All right, so seriously, tune out now if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, so you got about 20 minutes of...
That's almost a full episode.
I mean, that's pretty good.
That's like a sitcom.
That's pretty good. And then you can go watch the movie. You can come back to this, re-listen to the first 20 minutes. Why not? It's great.
Why not? It's great.
And then you can listen.
You don't have to read The Great Gatsby. I told you enough about it.
Pretty much.
You can talk about it at parties now. You're like, Gatsby's such a flawed character.
And then also jumping at Jay-Z, like he's the true American dream. Did you know that? Like he's the living embodiment of the American dream.
Oh man!
Like you're gonna seem so goddamn cultured thanks to the show.
You really are. You're welcome.
You're welcome. Star Trek Into Darkness. It's Khan.
Yeah.
It's Khan.
I hope they tuned out before you said that. Kirk dies.
He comes back.
Yeah, they didn't have the courage to keep him dead. I don't know if it's courage. I think it would have been a really weird place to end the movie tonally because it wasn't building to that really.
And I mean, and it set it up to
Beast Star Trek.
well, I mean, it set it up to so that he could be saved. And it seems obvious that how he could be saved.
Right. I feel like yesterday on Facebook, Rob and Mary Beth and we got into like a 4-way Facebook discussion that went on for a while. It was a pretty good.
Yeah, Rob and Mary Beth, who you will hear on next week's episode.
Yes.
Rob messaged the three of us, and he's like, "All right, guys, I
can't wait for the show.
Like, what's up? How'd you guys feel?" I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as Star Trek 2009.
Me neither.
But I still enjoyed it a lot.
I did too. I think that plot wise, it's got a lot more wrong with it than Star Trek 2009, and I don't think it ever hits the highs emotionally that the first one did. There's no moment in this movie that comes anywhere close to the moment where George Kirk gives up his life at the beginning of 2009.
Where he sacrifices.
Right, and if the movie had worked the way it's supposed to, then you would feel that way when Jim Kirk is sacrificing himself to save the Enterprise crew, showing that he's finally
like that
he's finally taken responsibility.
The promise of that Pike, what he hoped Kirk would be, his father, is what he's becoming. You'd see that,
but the movie doesn't really.
I mean, it
kind of rushes past it, though.
And I mean, it's sad, but
it doesn't. It didn't make me cry.
And I
cry like a girl every time George Kirk dies.
Man, I guess, and I don't know, I cry. I didn't cry the first 2 times I watched it.
Really?
I saw it in the theaters. I mean,
and you're like, I'm not gonna
punk out like that.
I keep saying the B word.
I know,
I'm
man,
like Brian Prado.
because you're like sexist. That's why.
It's
because you're like sexist.
It's because I'm caught up in that 1920s Gatsby vernacular.
Hey, you got a bitch here, huh? Is that how they talk?
Yep.
Cool.
It's so weird hearing Tobey Maguire talk that way for 2.5 hours.
Well, I watched it. I mean, that's how much I don't really watch movies in theaters anymore. I watched it twice when it came out, and then
Me too.
and then it came out on DVD. My friend, who I was living with, my friend Johnny, he bought it, and I borrowed it from him. And this was a little after I found out that I was going to be a father, and so I popped it in, just thinking like, oh, cool, Star Trek. I love that movie. That movie was awesome. Popped it in, and then I'm just, he's
hearing his son take his first breath in the shuttle,
and I just lose it and start crying. And now I every time I watch it, I can't stop crying.
Yeah.
And it's not even like oh, here it comes. I'm like crying before I know it. Like I just like there's no like
your face is wet. You're like oh okay.
It's like there's no like rev up, like just like all of a sudden. But no, yeah, I didn't. I mean, and I felt sad. Like, oh, this is sad.
But,
like I acknowledge this.
Well, I guess to back up, the scene where Kirk is dying is a mirror of the
mirror
scene
universe.
Yeah,
scene.
exactly. Of the moment in Wrath of Khan when Spock saves the ship by entering the radiation flooded compartment and fixing the engine so that the ship can get away. And there's a lot of the same dialogue, like Kirk has Spock's line. He says "ship out of danger," and
they touch hands through the glass,
right? Which to me, I think part of the reason it doesn't work is in this movie they're still not quite friends. Like Kirk wants to be his friend, but he can't trust Spock, and Spock doesn't trust him yet either. So I think what they're trying to do in that scene is show that them becoming friends, because Spock is letting his emotions out. He lets them out. He cries.
Yeah, and that
I thought was interesting.
I think a lot of people get caught up in the Vulcans don't show emotion. They don't show them, but they have them. And I think that's something that a lot of people. I mean, I think that they know it, but they don't kind of realize it when they're making that argument.
Right.
Like Vulcans have plenty of emotions, but they just shrug them off. They suppress them like you would like an apple seed with a cigarette.
Right. No, absolutely. And
this moment,
right.
where this man who he's realizing that
this is my friend.
This is my friend. This is a man who basically got fired
because I sold him out.
Yeah, he got fired. It's my fault he got fired. He got fired because he saved my life.
Exactly.
He got fired from the one thing he wanted to do. Is now sacrificing his life. And he can't hold the emotions back.
Right, and he gets to yell Khan, but even that didn't quite work for me because that felt more like parody than homage.
It felt like fan service.
Yeah, and I also just don't think Zachary Quinto's got Shatner's delivery on it. Like, I think...
when Shatner does it, you're like, that dude is pissed.
He is he would commit murder right now if he could, but...
And that's so weird to acknowledge Shatner's acting as being superior to Quinto's.
Anybody else.
At least, or anybody else's. But it was in that regard. It's insane.
I think Quinto's got a different talent, which is the quiet thing. He's not good at going loud and big.
Which makes him such a great Spock.
Exactly.
That guy is tall these days, isn't he?
Zachary Quinto?
Yeah. And skinny.
He's morphing into Leonard Nimoy. He really is. Let's back up a little bit. One thing that I enjoyed the movie as we were watching it. Like, it's one roller coaster moment after another. And if there is an IMAX screen near you, a real IMAX screen, go see it there because the movie is fucking huge.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like all those, like that shot at the beginning where they're swimming towards the Enterprise underwater, and like you can't even quite tell what you're looking at first because the ship is so big. I'm taking my mom to see it on Sunday, and I think it's going to blow the top of her head off. We're going back to the IMAX.
And then you won't have a mom.
Yeah, but she'll have gone out the way she wanted, looking at the Enterprise, or at least the way I wanted her.
Yeah, like, this was awesome.
Yeah, I think I Instagram it. My mother,
the top of her head completely gone, and you're like,
right before the trial starts.
Let's put a sepia tone filter on this and post.
No likes yet. Why not?
Weird.
There
we go.
Anyway,
at a refresh.
Just on a large-scale plot level, there were a couple of issues I had that I didn't think about till it was over. And we talked about this a little bit, which is, I thought at the end of the first movie that they already had their mission. So the idea that he's been given the ship, but they're not really doing anything yet, even though it's the newest ship in the fleet, kind of bugged me a little bit. And also the fact that they're supposed to have made friends at the end of the first movie. And so they introduced this element in the second movie where they seem to have taken 2 steps back from the big leap they made at the end of the first movie. Kirk and Spock, I should say.
Well, I mean, they seem like they're buddies, but I mean, like they're still
they're not best friends.
I mean, it's only a year later.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I'm sure there's like they're just 2 like just strikingly different personalities
that haven't quite figured out how to gel yet.
Exactly.
They had that one mission at the end of the first movie where they saw how it could work, but they haven't figured out how to make it work every time.
Yeah, on the reg.
And you can even see that in the original TV show, although I think it happened organically rather than as a planned thing, but you see Kirk and Spock kind of become this invincible team as the series rolls forward, even as the quality of the episodes denigrates. That the friendship between the main 3 characters strengthens and grows more interesting, which is weird.
That's one thing that I didn't like about this movie. Not enough bones.
Yeah, Bones, Sulu, and Chekhov all kind of get the short shrift this time. And it was definitely, but he had a lot of great lines. Like, they would go to him for a great joke and then come back. And they kind of did the same thing with Scotty. And our Mary Beth was sort of complaining. She thought that he was just comic relief, that they were just using him for that, which I guess is a valid complaint. But at the same time, I felt like he was still so competent and so useful.
That's how I kind of felt that he was comic relief, but he was kind of like a fish out of water at that point. Like they're asking him to do this stuff that he's not, that he can't, or they're asking him to like, mess with computer system on a different ship, but be very sly about it, be very sneaky. And so like I can do that, but having to run around like a hangar, like an empty hangar to do it is something I'm not used to.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that real quick. The Dreadnought class ship, that was pretty badass.
That was crazy. Yeah,
and the shot of the Dreadnought dropping out of warp in front of the Enterprise, and the Enterprise is not a small ship,
big ass ship,
and the Dreadnought dwarfs it.
Yeah.
And RoboCop's at the helm. And that moment where they blast the Enterprise out of warp, I think that was my favorite image of the film, was the Enterprise just getting, you've never seen that before.
Like the Enterprise in warp and the Dreadnought come up behind it.
Yeah, they nasty pimped it.
Yeah, he did.
For those of you who are us.
Yeah, me, you, and someone who will never listen to this.
Exactly.
There's an interesting